What is Asset Protection Trust? Everything you need to know. Introduction. People with significant assets who wish to protect them from creditors or legal judgments should be concerned about asset protection. The use of an asset protection trust is one of the most effective ways to protect your assets. We'll cover everything you need to know about asset protection trusts, including how they work, their benefits, and their potential drawbacks. Section headings. Asset protection trusts, what are they? How does an asset protection trust work? Types of asset protection trusts. Benefits of an asset protection trust. Drawbacks of an asset protection trust. Frequently asked questions. Asset protection trusts, what are they? You can protect your assets with an asset protection trust by forming a legal arrangement. You can set up this type of trust to hold your assets and manage them on your behalf. In accordance with the trust terms, the trustee is responsible for managing the assets. Most asset protection trusts are established by individuals with significant assets who are concerned about potential creditors or legal judgments. Assets can be protected from potential seizure by placing them in a trust. How does an asset protection trust work? When you establish an asset protection trust, you transfer ownership of your assets to the trust. The trustee then manages the assets on your behalf. Because the assets are no longer in your name, it can be more challenging for creditors or litigants to seize them. It is generally recommended that asset protection trusts be established in a jurisdiction that has favorable asset protection laws. Depending on where the state is located, it could be a foreign country or even an American state. Depending on the jurisdiction in which the trust is established, there will be specific laws and regulations that govern how the trust operates. Types of asset protection trusts. Trusts for asset protection come in several forms, including trusts that are established under the laws of the United States are domestic asset protection trusts. In most states, they are not available. Alaska, Nevada, and Delaware are some of the states where they are available. A trust established in a foreign jurisdiction, such as the Cayman Islands or the British Virgin Islands, provides asset protection. A domestic asset protection trust is governed by the laws of the state in which it is formed. Depending on where they are established, offshore asset protection trusts are subject to local laws. Benefits of an asset protection trust. There are several benefits to establishing an asset protection trust, including protection of your assets from potential creditors or legal judgments, flexibility in terms of how the trust is structured and managed, tax benefits in some cases. One of the primary benefits of an asset protection trust is that it can protect your assets from potential creditors or legal judgments. In the event that you are sued or face legal action, your assets may be seized. It is possible to protect your assets from seizure by placing them in a trust. Another benefit of an asset protection trust is that it can provide flexibility in terms of how the trust is structured and managed. A trust can be set up with specific terms and instructions regarding how assets will be managed. This can allow you to retain some control over your assets while still protecting them from potential seizure. Tax benefits can also be derived from asset protection trusts in some cases. In some jurisdictions, you may be able to take advantage of favorable tax laws when establishing a trust. Drawbacks of an asset protection trust. While there are many benefits to establishing an asset protection trust, there are also some potential drawbacks, including cost. Establishing an asset protection trust can be expensive, and ongoing maintenance can also be costly. Complexity. Asset protection trusts can be complex legal arrangements, and they may require ongoing management and oversight. Limitations. Asset protection trusts may not protect all of your assets, and there may be limits to the protection they can provide. Potential for fraud. Some unscrupulous individuals may use asset protection trusts to engage in fraudulent activity. Before deciding whether to establish an asset protection trust, you should carefully consider the potential drawbacks. Frequently asked questions. Are asset protection trusts legal? It is legal to set up an asset protection trust in many jurisdictions. You should, however, work with an experienced attorney who can help you set up the trust properly and comply with all relevant laws. Are asset protection trusts able to protect me from all creditors and legal judgments? It is true that asset protection trusts have limitations when it comes to providing protection. If you plan to establish an asset protection trust, you should carefully consider your specific situation and consult with an experienced attorney. Can I establish an asset protection trust after I've been sued? An asset protection trust cannot be established after you have been sued, in most cases. Planning ahead and setting up an asset protection trust is essential before facing any legal problems. How to establish an asset protection trust? Establishing an asset protection trust requires careful planning and attention to detail. Here are the basic steps involved in establishing an asset protection trust. Choose a jurisdiction. The first step in establishing an asset protection trust is to choose a jurisdiction. It is important to understand that asset protection trust laws can vary significantly from one jurisdiction to another. There are some states or countries with more favorable laws regarding asset protection trusts than others. Hire an attorney. Once you have chosen a jurisdiction, you will need to hire an attorney who is experienced in establishing asset protection trusts. Your attorney will help you navigate the legal and regulatory requirements involved in establishing a trust. Draft the trust agreement. The next step is to draft the trust agreement. This is a legal document that outlines the terms and conditions of the trust. The trust agreement will specify the assets that will be placed in the trust, the beneficiaries of the trust, and the terms under which the trust assets can be distributed. Fund the trust. Once the trust agreement has been drafted and signed, the assets that are to be protected must be transferred into the trust. This can involve transferring property titles, bank accounts, and other assets into the name of the trust. Maintain the trust. Once the trust has been established and funded, ongoing maintenance is required to ensure that the trust continues to operate in compliance with all relevant laws and regulations. This can include annual tax filings, regular reviews of the trust agreement, and other administrative tasks. Choosing the right jurisdiction. Choosing the right jurisdiction for your asset protection trust is critical to the success of the trust. Here are some key factors to consider when selecting a jurisdiction. Asset protection laws. Different jurisdictions have different laws governing asset protection trusts. Some jurisdictions have more favorable laws for asset protection trusts than others. It's important to work with an attorney who is familiar with the laws in the jurisdiction you are considering. Political stability. You will want to choose a jurisdiction that is politically stable and has a well-established legal system. This will help ensure that your trust is protected and that the laws governing the trust will not change unexpectedly. Reputation. Some jurisdictions have a reputation for being more trust-friendly than others. It's important to choose a jurisdiction that is well regarded in the legal and financial communities. Accessibility. Depending on your situation, you may need to choose a jurisdiction that is easily accessible to you. For example, if you plan to relocate to a different country, you may want to choose a jurisdiction that is close to your new home. Conclusion. It is possible to protect your assets from potential creditors or legal judgments with the help of asset protection trusts. By establishing trust, you can retain some control over your assets while still protecting them from seizure. You should, however, carefully consider the potential drawbacks of asset protection trusts and work with an experienced attorney to ensure that the trust is properly drafted and in compliance with all applicable laws. An asset protection trust can effectively protect your assets and safeguard your financial future with the right planning and guidance.